In what started off as a very hot offensive start for the Toronto Blue Jays, it ended in a complete meltdown. There were player mistakes, there were coaching mistakes as well, and just a ton of things that we did not want to see last night against the Angels. So we'll break that down and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. I want to thank you for all the support that we've gotten on our videos, on our live streams. It means the world to us. Happy Easter to each and every one of you that are celebrating. And the Jays play another game today. They have a chance to go 6-4 on this 10-game road trip to start the season. Not the end of the world. That's what I predicted. They could easily go 5-5 though, with Yusei Kikuchi on the mound. So who knows? Let's hope that they can come away with the series victory. But yesterday was a chance to go ahead and do that, and they could not capitalize.
Yeah, yesterday was rough on many levels, from errors to some coaching things I'm sure you'll get into and maybe talk about. And pitching, of course, wasn't there. And the hitting was there for some of the lineup, but not all of it. But before we do get into that, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It means a lot, and the support has been unbelievable. But let's get into the first topic now, which is kind of the bulk of the video, which was the Jays meltdown. And we'll discuss a few things in this, specifically the pitching. And Peter, I'll let you touch on some questionable John Schneider decisions that were not only noticed by you, but many people around Jays Land on Twitter, on Reddit, and things like that. But before we do get into that, what were your thoughts on Jose Barrios? He ended up going 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, with 5 strikeouts, and he looked dominant at times, especially through the first 2 innings. But his stuff was moving. He looked dominant. I don't know, he looked good, and then he had a bit of a meltdown, kind of like the whole team.
Yeah, well, his fastball was once again getting hit very hard, and I just don't know why he keeps going to it. The problem with Jose Barrios is that he can't locate any of his pitches down in the zone right now. He's leaving everything middle, and it's getting crushed. He doesn't throw hard enough to get away with those kinds of mistakes. And guys that do throw 94, 95 that leave pitches in the middle, they're going to get crushed, and that's just the way it works. So he's got to locate down in the zone with that sinker. He's got to go back to what was working for him before he started to struggle last season. And he was good at times last year. He had 17 quality starts, which was honestly something that shocked me. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe that. But then you look at it, and his other starts, his other 13 starts, were awful. They were god awful. And he did not belong on that field. So this is a problem that has been just stretching along for 2 years now. And they got to figure it out, because they have him for another 6 seasons after this, or 5 seasons after this. So this is not something that can keep happening every 5 days.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, he was dominant at times last year, and kind of like tonight's or yesterday's game, he was dominant at times. His stuff was moving well, but like you said, and I mentioned to you in his first start, his fastball is just getting absolutely pummeled. And if he wants to
Yeah.
use his fastball as much as he is, which he shouldn't be doing anyways, at least you got to locate it, and that's something he hasn't been able to do. And looking at Adam Simber, he went 1 inning and gave up, of course, the big home run to Mike Trout there, and I'll let you touch on that in a second. Trevor Richards looked pretty good. He was using his changeup a lot. Zach Pop looked very good. Anthony Bass struggled a lot and kind of put the game out of reach late in the game there. But I'll let you quickly touch on the John Schneider, a group of decisions that had you upset. And I guess you can start with, I don't know if this one upset you. I noticed it, putting in Adam Simber against, of course, the heart of their lineup. Joe Siddall talked about it a bit, but I'll let you touch on it.
Now, there are 2 things in the game that really stood out to me. Okay, so the Simber decision was one of them. And this is a guy that throws 84 miles an hour. You're sending him out there in the 5th inning to face Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. Might as well have sent me out there, Nick. And I don't even throw 84 miles an hour, but I would have had the same chance to get those 2 out. Now, Adam Simber is a great bulk guy. He is great to get you through those middle parts of the game if your starter can't go deep, and he's going to eat a ton of innings out of that bullpen. But that is not the right spot to put him in. He's not a high leverage guy, and you could say, oh, it's the 5th inning, it's not high leverage. It is high leverage. It's the 2 best players on the planet coming up to the plate, and then you're sending out an 84-mile-an-hour submarine pitcher to go out and face him. You're not going to fool Mike Trout with 84 miles an hour. I don't care if you throw it backwards. It's not going to fool him, okay? So it just doesn't work. I could have named you 3 guys that I would have sent out there before Adam Simber. It's not in order. Zach Pop, Anthony Bass, and Eric Swanson. Those 3 guys I would have sent out in a heartbeat over him. And then Pop comes in later in the game and he shuts down Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani back to back. So it just shows you should have gone to him in that higher leverage situation. It's not a spot for Adam Simber.
I agree. I noticed it in the game, and I think Joe Siddall commented on it how there was a reason that they did it. But I don't really, personally, like I don't want to see Adam Simber against Mike Trout in any situation unless we're down maybe like 15-2, and maybe that's too hot of a take. I'm curious to see what you guys think in the comment section. I think we just have too many weapons in the bullpen that would better suit that, especially at a point in the game where a home run completely puts them in the lead and doesn't blow it open, but it gets rid of our lead. Like a home run is what the last thing you want to happen. You want to mitigate the damage there. But what was the other thing that you wanted to touch on with Josh and I?
And the other thing, now I have a personal life and I try to not let the Blue Jays get the best of me. I don't get angry over games, you know. I honestly tend to not care if they lose or if they win, especially in the regular season. It's just a game. At the end of the day, I have other stuff to worry about in my life. But this game struck a nerve, and I don't know why. I think this next decision had something to do with it as well. Brandon Belt starting against a left-handed pitcher. Okay, now Tyler Anderson doesn't throw hard, and you want Brandon Belt to get going, but this is not the right time, okay? It's not the time to send him out there. He struck out 12 times before the game started in, I believe, 19 at-bats or something like that, ridiculous like that. He wasn't even close. He wasn't even close to figuring it out. So you're sending him out there against a lefty, saying, here, go figure it out. You're batting eighth, go DH against the lefty. How does that make sense? Okay, so that's another thing to look at. And then against a left-handed reliever who's throwing 96 miles an hour in Jose Quijada, you don't take him out in a 2-run ball game. You leave him in. You signed Jordan Luplow the other day, and you leave him to rot on the bench so Brandon Belt, your $9 million man, can figure it out. And what did he do? He struck out another 3 times. I want him to get his at-bats. I want him to be comfortable out there. But this is not the right time. And for a team that missed the playoffs by 1 game just 2 years ago, this is not the time to be a charity and be giving out at-bats to people and giving out innings to people for them to figure it out. It's not the right time.
Yeah, and if you were going to start, I'm not as heated about it as you are, but there is one thing that definitely struck my eye. If you're going to start Brandon Belt, do not leave him in against a high-velocity left-handed pitcher when you have guys on the bench, specifically someone that you signed and brought up. It just, that one, I don't know if there's any defense for John Schneider on that one, and I'm curious to see what you guys think about in the comments, but we'll quickly move on now because we only have a few minutes left as the top of the order stays hot, and we'll touch on the bright side of the game, which was the fact that Matt Chapman, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and George Springer to a certain extent have been absolutely unbelievable. If you look at the averages on the right there, even Varsho, who went 0 for 4, has still been unbelievable, but Bichette's mashing the ball. His defense is another story. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is looking as good, if not better, than we've ever seen him, similar to 2021. And Matt Chapman is just on another level right now. Of course, George Springer also finally got his home run. So, I don't know. The bottom, if you look, though, from Varsho downwards, not a single hit was recorded. And that's a major, major issue. Of course, you talked about Brandon Belt. But some of the other guys didn't perform either. It wasn't just Brandon Belt. Do you have any quick thoughts on this before we move on and wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the lineup. I mean, 5 through 9 just didn't show up today. It happens, but they've been good all season long. The lineup is the least of my concern for this team, and my biggest concern is our next topic here, and we'll touch on that right now. Is Bo? I mean, he looks awful. He looks awful at shortstop right now. He looks even worse than he did last year. Now, I don't know about you, Nick. I don't know if you think he's made strides in that department or if you think he's worse than he was last season. But does the Blue Jays front office have it in them to move him to second base? Like, you got to sit him down and have this conversation, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's a bit too early in the season to make full judgments. However, he has not looked good at by any extent. And it seems like every time he throws the ball, it's either high, it's to the outside, he boots it. However, I don't know if the Jays have I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm very curious once again. I know your thoughts on it. You kind of want to move him to second base. And the real question that comes down from this, major question is that, do you think the Blue Jays or any team can win with Bo Bichette as your shortstop of course, hitting-wise, it's not an issue. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. Probably top 10 or something hitter in baseball. However, defensively, he's also top 10 worst, if not the worst, defensive shortstop in baseball. So yeah. I need to see some major strides. I don't think they make the change this year unless it starts to get really bad or they acquire a different shortstop. But they need to have the conversation. And also, hopefully, Bo Bichette improves to some degree over the next, honestly, sooner than later, 20, 25 games.
It's going to cost them. I know it's going to cost them,
Cost him
and
today
I've
or
been,
yesterday.
yep, it cost them yesterday, and there's a routine play up the middle, and he's drop kicking the ball into right center field. Like he's not comfortable out there, whether it's confidence, whether it's ability. He's just not a shortstop right now. And what are you afraid of in moving him to second base? Are you afraid that he's going to throw a fit and will demand a trade? I mean, you can't win with him as your starting shortstop. He just does not seem confident out there, and I'm not even overreacting after one performance. This has been a buildup that over since the season started on March 30th. He just hasn't been able to make the routine play. You know, you hit the ball to him, and you're holding your breath as a fan. Is he going to make this play? It's a routine play that should be made by a major league shortstop, let alone any professional shortstop. So I think it's time. I think you've seen enough, similar to how I feel about Trevor Richards. You've seen enough. It's time to make the change. And he would be the best second baseman in the world. He'd be the best second baseman in the sport if he were to accept. And I think Bo Bichette wants to win. And I think he's got to acknowledge that he's a better second baseman than he is a shortstop.
Yeah.
That's I'll leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there on the boat topic, or we won't dive too much into it. But that'll wrap up the video. Looking ahead tomorrow, or tonight actually, on Easter Day, we have a pretty good game. Yusei Kikuchi taking the hill. And we have the chance, like you said, to go 6-4 heading home, which is what you predicted. And also would be, I think, pace for 97 wins, and would overall, with the struggles that we had, be absolutely unbelievable. So thank you guys for the support. It's meant the world. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys later tonight or tomorrow.
Thanks.